You know the saying, once an actress, always an actress.
Oh, I do know the saying. But what does it have to do with you?
You might think that the quiet village of St. Mary Mead is the last place on earth where one could meet international movie stars, Broadway legends, or British acting royalty. But think again. Over the years, Miss Marple adaptations have attracted an astonishing array of guest stars, from Oscar winners and Shakespearean greats to beloved comedians and rising talents who would later conquer Hollywood. In today's episode, we'll have a close look at the most unforgettable guest star performances that ever crossed paths with Agatha Christie's amateur village sleuth, the beloved Miss Jane Marple.
Too much television. You must learn to rationalize your imagination.
Let's begin with the earliest screen version that reached a global audience. Margaret Rutherford's 4 comedies, Murder, She Said, Murder at the Gallup, Murder Most Fool, and Murder Ahoy, were produced by MGM in the early 1960s and, while miles away from Christie's tone, were bursting with British talent. Rutherford herself was already a national treasure, and the supporting casts read like a who's who of post-war character actors. Robert Morley, Flora Robson, and her real-life husband, Stringer Davis, as the devoted Mr. Stringer.
Mr. Stringer, would you say I was an unstable woman?
Oh, certainly not.
In full possession of my faculties?
Absolutely.
And not given to hallucinations?
I know.
Thank you, Mr. Stringer.
They may not have been Hollywood glamorous, but they gave the films a charming, theatrical warmth, a perfect bridge between the stage and Christie's world.
I'm Jane, from Mrs. Binster's employment agency, the new maid.
Well, you look old enough to know better. Come in.
And yes, a particularly interesting fact. No, she wasn't a star back at the time. Decades divide her from that part of her career. Yet, yes, Joan Hickson began her path to becoming the definitive Marple, supporting Rutherford in Murder, She Said.
Well, show business is just a business, Aunt Jane.
What we need is a little more business and a little less show.
Now we move to the big budget era, when in 1980 Angela Lansbury's Miss Marple met Elizabeth Taylor in The Mirror Cracked. The result was pure cinematic electricity. Taylor played Marina Gregg, a fading movie star haunted by scandal, champagne and secrets. Her character was inspired by real Hollywood royalty. I spoke about it in my video about Lansbury. So Taylor leaned right into it, delivering both self-parody and genuine pathos. As far as I remember from my usual reading about the film after I first saw it, she was reportedly not entirely pleased with how she came across on screen. You see, she herself was somewhat familiar with the struggles of her heroine at this stage of her career. Perhaps that's why her verbal daggers with Kim Novak, sharper than any knife, look so poignant.
What a delightful surprise.
Looking lovely as always. Of course, there are fewer lights on than usual. In fact, any fewer, and I'd need a seeing eye dog.
Oh, I shouldn't bother to buy one, dear. In that wig, you could play Lassie.
And Rock Hudson as the loyal husband trying to keep his star wife from falling apart was also spot on. In other words, Taylor absolutely owned every scene. However, that's how it was meant to be, I suppose. By the way, apart from the main star cast, there is also an almost unnoticeable appearance of another actor whose later career brought him to the A-list of Hollywood stars. So keep watching, we'll get back to him in the end of this video.
You're going to look absolutely wonderful for the party tonight.
You really think so? I don't often have my hair done.
About time you did, then.
A few years later, American CBS produced another Marple, the legendary stage actress Helen Hayes, known as the First Lady of the American theater. Between 1983 and 1985, she starred in 2 TV movies, A Caribbean Mystery together with Barnard Hughes and Murder with Mirrors alongside Joan Mills and fabulous Bette Davis.
I hope you don't mean that just because you're elderly you have a special relationship to death. That's nonsense.
Elderly? I'd never think of myself as elderly. I feel just the same as I did when I was 17. Only then, of course, I pitied anyone over 20, and now I don't.
Hayes initially hesitated to take the part. She once said she couldn't be as funny as Margaret Rutherford, but her version is softer, wise, and endearingly human.
She was so beautiful, even as a child.
You knew her way back then?
I'm from way back then.
These adaptations may look a bit dated today, but they set the tone to the thoughtful Marple we'd soon get in Britain.
But that's impossible.
No, not impossible. Just a remarkable coincidence. And in life, coincidences do happen.
And then came the definitive one. Joan Hickson, personally blessed by Agatha Christie decades earlier, turned Miss Marple into a quiet force of nature. Across 12 films commissioned by BBC in between 1984 and 1992, she was surrounded by some of the finest actors of the British stage and screen, and several delivered performances worthy of any award. Prominent guest stars included Gwen Watford and Murray Watson, who appeared as Dolly and Colonel Bantry in the first episode and returned for the final one, and Frederick Yeager, who played Colonel Melchett.
Arthur, wake up. Arthur.
Dolly?
Mary just said there's a body in the library.
So you may have noticed that Joan Hickson didn't have guest stars in her own Miss Marple series, as she was the star, but the show featured many guest actors in supporting roles. Yet each of these actors played opposite Hickson's calm intelligence with perfect harmony. They're timeless examples of how great casting can elevate a television mystery into real drama.
I've never believed there's such a thing as the perfect murder. There'll always be something that doesn't quite fit.
When ITV revived Miss Marple in the beginning of the 21st century, they didn't hold back on guest stars. It was practically a who's who of British acting. Let's begin with McEwan's partners. We had Derek Jacobi, the Shakespearean knight himself, in The Murder at the Vicarage. My favorite, Joanna Lumley, played Dolly Bantry in the inaugural Body in the Library, and then reappeared in The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side.
Oh, Jane, I'm so glad you've come.
Dolly, what a terrible thing.
I know. Rather thrilling, isn't it?
The Grand Frances de la Tour appeared in The Moving Finger. Curiously, 20 years before that, she played another minor role in the American take on Murder with Mirrors, alongside the already mentioned Helen Hayes. Then we saw a very young Carey Mulligan and Timothy Dalton in The Sitterford Mystery. Zoe Wanamaker played the key part in A Murder is Announced, while Jane Seymour's elegance in Ordeal by Innocence brought that nostalgic glamour reminiscent of Elizabeth Taylor's day.
Well, I know one thing that's going to happen, and that's at 7:30 we'll have half the village up here agog with curiosity.
Especially the old fogies. They love a good murder.
Each guest star felt like a respectful nod to the Christie universe, a modern bridge between old-school mystery and 21st television polish. A golden ensemble that proved Miss Marple's world was large enough for every kind of British brilliance.
Not quite the gentle, fluffy old lady you look, are you?
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment.
You can take it any way you like.
When Julia McKenzie took over, the tone grew slightly darker and more introspective, yet the parade of stars continued. Matthew Macfadyen's intense stare in a pocket full of rye could have been Poirot-worthy. Another favorite of mine, Joanne Collins, played her part in They Do It With Mirrors, alongside another beloved British actress, Penelope Wilton.
Do you think anyone could possibly guess, Jane, that you and I are practically the same age?
Not for a moment, I'm sure. I'm afraid, you see, I look every minute of my age.
No.
Oh, and of course, there was a particularly interesting appearance of Benedict Cumberbatch before Sherlock, popping up as the young artist in the blue geranium.
Why did she pretend to sprain her ankle?
Maybe she didn't want to kiss you.
What makes you think I tried?
I'm not batty, remember, Luke?
No, Jane.
No ranking would be complete without mentioning the 1980 Hollywood version again. The one with Angela Lansbury's Marple, Rock Hudson as her old friend, and Tony Curtis as the sleazy producer. It was glitzy, yes, over the top, certainly, but it introduced an entire American audience to Christie's old-fashioned detective world by bringing Marple to Hollywood, and did so with irresistible star power. Without that film, Murder, She Wrote might have never been made, so perhaps we owe this adaptation more than we think. And yes, it promised a secret cameo appearance of a future huge star. Have you ever spotted a very young Pierce Brosnan here leaning against Elizabeth Taylor? Brosnan plays an actor called Jamie, to whom Marina Gregg addresses a remark while dressed up like Mary, Queen of Scots. Apparently, he was playing a character of James Bothwell. So now it's your turn. Who's your favorite Miss Marple guest star? Drop your rankings in the comments. I'd love to see which star you think deserves the gold medal in the world of St. Mary Mead. I wish you a wonderful time watching or rewatching your favorite actors and hope to see you in my other videos. There are plenty of them on my channel. Take care. Bye.
You know, it isn't just that you don't look like Jane Mansfield. You're not my idea of a maid, either.
Well, quite honestly, I don't think you'd be everybody's idea of a boy.